When actors transform rapidly for roles, it often has us asking, what is the secret stuff? Well, today we're going to dissect Austin Butler's transformation for Dune 2, where he put on 25 pounds of muscle in 4 months. Hollywood has always been obsessed with rapid transformations. From Christian Bale's extreme weight loss in The Machinist, to then playing Batman as a huge, muscular, and burly man, to Chris Hemsworth bulking up massively to play Thor. Actors pretty much for sure go to great lengths to get to the physiques that they need to get their paycheck and feature in one of the best and biggest movies out there right now. Actors go to great lengths to create these transformations in the smallest amount of time. But what lengths do they really go to? And what would you do if you were offered a multi-million-dollar contract, getting paid up front to perform in a movie and have a specific type of physique? So let's talk about the 25 pounds of muscle that Austin Butler's put on for Dune 2. And to understand the present, I think we need to analyze the past. Austin Butler isn't new to the scene. He's been in Elvis and lots of other smaller roles within movies before. He's actually, in my personal opinion, kind of a weirdo, but besides the point, we're looking at his physique. The main thing that I want to point out is that his body composition, while really skinny, has been relatively lean from when he started his acting career. You can look at pictures of him walking around on a beach or actually paddling on a longboard and quickly find out that the dude's been kind of a slim bean for most of his time as a public figure, but also very lean. However, this sudden change rose some eyebrows, and I've been asked about it a couple times. And there is likely some questionable methods going on in the background. Now let's start with genetics, because I think they play the largest role in what someone looks like no matter what they do. Some people have a huge genetic advantage to where they can grow muscle extremely quickly, while others can really struggle. To decipher whether Austin really falls in the category of quick gaining versus not so quick gaining, we're gonna have to purely look at his historical timeline of training. And in this case, to be honest, Austin hasn't done much resistance training. For Elvis, he did talk about having to eat a lot more calories to bulk up and not be so skinny, but he also mentioned that he wasn't really training effectively, and he pretty much has done body movement only type workouts for the majority of his career. So understanding that newbie gains, and you probably heard this term before, is a pretty profound effect where an individual who starts training grows very easily and quickly to assume sort of their genetic outlier position, whether that's skinny or big. Essentially, you can gain 2 to 3 times as much muscle as you would in a month compared to someone who is trained for some time trying to do the same. It's not going to happen for them, but for a newbie, it will absolutely happen. But that 1 month / maybe 2 isn't going to last forever. Now, in some of his interviews, he did discuss training until he pukes, like literally training as hard as he can to a point to where he actually vomits, and then even then talking more about actually eating enough food to sustain elevated growth. He even discusses eating Ben & Jerry's every night, which isn't something I personally recommend, but more so along the lines of getting your actual macronutrients in, protein and calories, and being in a caloric surplus to sufficiently gain weight per week. And generally speaking, as a person in a caloric surplus, you want to gain on average about 0.5% to 1% of total body weight to sustain muscle gain as opposed to fat mass gain. Now this is pretty basic stuff, training highly intense and eating quite a bit of food to sustain rates of growth, but it's still something that I think the majority of people don't understand nor do when they are trying to build muscle. And when you have the genetics to build muscle and then you add those two things, you've really lit the fire and can start to grow super fast. And being that he was so lean before he started eating more and training harder, I wouldn't be that bothered to say this might be a natural transformation. But building muscle isn't magic, it's science. A surplus of the right calories and macronutrients plus a really good training regimen will get you a lot of results. Again, he would have needed to consume more calories than he burned per day, or in other words, be in a caloric surplus. He would need to at least ensure he's eating at about 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight, and ideally train pretty hard. Now, this is kind of where things actually get interesting. It's surprising, really. Of course, as a Hollywood actor making millions of dollars per movie that you do and per scene that you play in, it's really important to have the biggest names in the industry helping you with your physique. physique and fitness and acting potential. And everyone in Hollywood hires a trainer for something. Except I wouldn't necessarily call this trainer top tier, nor do I think that this guy has any form of secret sauce, and this is where stuff gets pretty interesting. Duffy Gaver, to all rights, he's a former Marine, but this guy has trained a majority of the mainline superstars, or actually super-powered individuals you see on movies. Training the one and only Mr. Natural himself, Thor, Tom Holland, Chris Pratt, and many more who have gone under a rapid transformation. So what did Duffy do to Austin to get these insane results? Well, to be honest, it doesn't look like much when we actually look at the workouts he posted. So here we can take an example post that Duffy posted in which he brings a lot of people through, and you'll see a couple things. One, he does an astronomical amount of push-ups, a ton of dips, a ton more push-ups, a ton of pull-ups, a ton of squats, and then he just simply beats that up even more until failure. So to me, it doesn't really sound like resistance training, it's more calisthenics and probably more based around conditioning as opposed to muscular training. So how does everyone get jacked, and specifically how did Austin get jacked for this role if he's training really inefficiently in the term of muscle building? And just to clarify, when we build muscle, that training has to be, one, mechanically driven. It has to be mechanically overloaded. When you're doing push-ups, you're not really providing enough mechanical tension to cause contractile tissue to grow, nor are you doing enough in terms of intensity to bring that tissue to grow. We also know that effective hypertrophy happens at anywhere in 5 to 30 rep ranges in a set, and the simple key about those rep ranges is you have to get close to failure to stimulate muscle hypertrophy and create an overloading stimulus with the weight that you're using. And that's not super possible with calisthenics continuously and to create linear growth. But yet I'm talking about this as if it's not working, and the guys he's training seem to get huge. Well, in the world of rapid physique development, it's absolutely no secret that there are drugs being used, specifically hormonal compounds like testosterone, primobolan, trenbolone, which some of you may have heard of, and other agents like lipolytic things. You have your clenbuterol, your thyroid medications, and many, many more that I'm not going to make a whole video on right now. And this is really going to gut punch some people, but to be honest, there is not a single natural professional athlete out there right now. I guarantee you your favorite athlete in whatever they compete in is taking some form of performance enhancing compounds. I have personally done consultations with chess players on what they can take to enhance their performance. So trust me, I understand that this sounds crazy, but a 330-pound linebacker doesn't run a quarter mile in a couple of seconds by any natural standard. And you can use the same examples from other sports as well. However, in this case, Austin Butler, is he using anything? Well, I have a hard time saying that he is, because quite frankly, he's new to training. While his training regimen sucks, he's also been what I would deem malnourished for the most part of his career. And so you add a little bit of stimulus with the mechanical tension that is created from doing something like push-ups and setups and air squats, and then you also add a caloric surplus to that, a person will grow, especially if they are genetically inclined to grow. You see this a lot actually in individuals who are influencers that preach calisthenics. They seem to grow really, really well, while other people doing calisthenics don't so much. But the reality is that they just have a genetic proclivity to grow really, really fast when any mechanical tension is applied, and that even includes doing something as simple as a push-up. But for you, and specifically me, that is not the case. Now, however, when we're looking at other athletes and other professional actors, there is definitely a large continuum of people who are using very many different performance enhancing compounds. If Austin was to use anything, I think he probably used something very, very nice and neat, and I say neat very haphazardly, but I mean like Anavar. He probably took an oral compound such as Anavar or oxandrolone to promote a little bit more of the anabolic effects of his somewhat half-assed resistance training. And the Anavar would have also ensured that the extra food he was eating got partitioned into his muscles as they were intending it to be. Now, I don't think this was any kind of crazy cycle, since the transformation only took 4 months. It probably was a 12-week dosing of Anavar, and then the dose itself was probably fairly low because hopefully someone knew they didn't want to shut his HPTA axis down, or his hypothalamic pituitary testicular axis. And As a new person in this audience, you may not know, but when you take any form of hormone, your body has an auto-regulatory mechanism that basically down-regulates the hypothalamic pituitary testicular axis, which in exchange results in your body stopping the production of the hormones that you're taking. And this is also true about your simple antibody. Even though it isn't estrogenic or an exact match to testosterone, it is based off of testosterone's metabolites, dihydrotestosterone. And dihydrotestosterone inhibits your natural production of testosterone just as well like any other compound would that is hormonally influenced. So I would imagine that maybe he took 5, 10, maybe 20 milligrams of Anavar per day or every other day for this 4-month period, or maybe even less, to achieve a little bit quicker results and also to sustain maybe a leaner physique while eating a lot more. But they didn't want to expose him too long to any specific drug, nor did they want him taking too much of any specific drug to cause negative outcomes before his show. But this is a really hypothetical. I mean, this is a maybe. I really wouldn't be surprised if he did this completely without any other compound at all. But at the end of the day, what can an average person learn from Austin Butler's transformation? Whether it was natural or slightly aided, I think his results were pretty naturally obtainable. And to be honest, I think most of you could achieve a physique like this quite easily within 4 to 6 months if you ate efficiently, which we kind of discussed previously, and I also have other videos on this channel discussing the very same thing. But 2, you also trained very, very hard and efficiently. This is something a lot of people mess up, and shout out if you need a coach to give you the tools to do these things. Down below in the description, you'll find a couple links that you can click to get hooked up with our team and have us build out everything that you will need to have success indefinitely. But I'm done with the shameless plug. My main point is that I think most people could take away from this 4-month transformation that if you do apply yourself in some degree of severity, you might be able to achieve very similar results. But that does require extremes. That means no skipping the diet or cheating on the diet at all. And that doesn't mean missing training days when you don't feel like it. It means showing up every day doing the exact same thing for 4 months consecutively on a daily basis and getting used to saying no to pleasurable things a lot more. But in conclusion, I think Dune 2 is an awesome movie. I think it was actually really cinematography oriented, which I enjoy the artistic style of that, as well as the story being told was awesome as well. I've read the books, I don't know about you, but I also enjoyed the books. However, the movie had a little bit more of a twist that I found a little bit more sci-fi that I liked, and David Butler did a good job. I still think he's really weird with his whole Elvis accent taking over his real voice thing, but whatever, it's not my business, it's his. Anyways, if you guys liked this video, shoot me a comment down below. Tell me what you think about Austin and his transformation, and maybe the general Hollywood sphere and their transformations as a whole. Would you use any form of performance enhancing drugs or hormones if you had $2 million or more on the line? Let me know.